Good day, I'm Administrator Adam Southgate, and today's lecture will be covering the anti-entropic Urdd I Cloddwyr Beddau, or the Grave Diggers. I'll begin today with a question: can it be evil to stop others' self-destruction? What if you created a cure for psychopathy, a way to give empathy to those without, but they were unwilling to receive your cure? Would it be justified to force them? They're a killer and enjoy being so. They face life imprisonment or even death for their crimes, but you could allow them to live within society without putting others at risk. Your cure would give them the ability to relate to others, thus giving them a happier life. But even if it is beneficial, they refuse your treatment, leaving you with two options. Firstly, accept their choice and allow someone who could have lived a normal life to perish, or force it upon them, taking away their autonomy but allowing them to live. Is stealing that choice right? This is what today's Urdd confronts us with, but before I get ahead of myself, I'd like to mention the Order's Discord to help keep our hunters organised. It's broken up into different roles based on rank and which Urdd you belong to, if any. Along with this, we conduct our contracts through this system, so I hope to see you all there. Now, onto our hunters update. Firstly, and rather fittingly considering today's subject, we have, with the help of the Cloddwyr Beddau, created a new virtual assistant for the Order's HQ. You may remember back in February of this year that we suffered an Ysbryd in Gwifrau within the Order's systems that was eventually removed and destroyed. What was not mentioned at the time was that one of the fragments was preserved and surrendered over to the Urdd to work upon. How they accomplished what they did should become more clear once we begin discussing them in the video. However, essentially, in a similar way to necromancy, they shifted the nature of the entity, halting its ability to grow. Along with this, they also forced a new personality onto the being, essentially creating a new mind entirely. The entire project was in aid of possibly creating our own anomalous equivalent to an AI, however one with emotions and, most importantly, empathy. I have been asked to conduct the trial run for this prototype, it being connected to my computer but locked from going anywhere else for obvious reasons. This is a fantastic project and I look forward to being a part of it, so let's start this up. Okay, wait, why does it look like that? It's so childish. Who chose this?
No one. It picked itself.
Right, okay, well, this is the Teachable Integrated Machine. Wait, Tim. Damn it, I feel like someone's having a joke at my expense. Well, at least for this video, Tim will be heavily involved. However, in the future, he should only stop in to add context and provide quick asides. Hopefully, this trial won't be overly long and it can be removed. Secondly, our very first expedition is now live. For those not informed, we have gained the ability to open our own way into random spheres and subspheres. We hope by sending hunters into these strange realms to complete two primary goals. The first is to set up SSBs, or Sphere Signal Boosters, as currently we have no way to choose which of the infinite spheres we access. With these boosters, we will be able to create a fourth dimensional map, giving us some control over which sphere we breach into in the future. The second is the acquisition of technology, both mundane and anomalous, that can aid us in our fight against the spheres. You will need to be very discerning in this task, as anything you choose to retrieve could prove dangerous to ourselves. The length of time we can hold a breach open before it becomes permanent and we are unable to close it again is 5 days. As such, you must evacuate before this time runs out, as we will close the breach whether or not you have already escaped. You will receive supplies for these missions that should be sufficient for the operation. However, weaponry is your responsibility to supply. Good luck, hunters. I know you'll do us proud. Much of Cloddwyr Beddau's early history is shrouded in mystery. It has not been lost, but is kept within their Urdd Hall and is only shared with those within the Urdd. We know from our own records that they were one of the splinter groups that broke from Cloddwyr Beddau in the early Middle Ages. However, exactly when, we do not know. Only short snippets of accounts remain from hunters and druids who interacted with this group at the time. However, it's very clear from these that they were rather different back then, with numerous mentions of burning those possessed by entropic entities. To any who know a member of the Urdd today, this may appear shocking, as today they are known as the most gentle of the hunters who would do anything and everything they can to ease an entropic entity's reversion to a benign spirit. This rather drastic change occurred within the Victorian period, with both the rise of the mysticism movement and the Romantic movement. The Urdd, having once almost exclusively taken its members from gravedigger families, was flooded by the rising Victorian middle class, many of which had already studied basic necromancy. This demographic change was rapid enough to almost completely supplant the existing culture of the group, that, unlike the other Urdd, did not have a single individual in charge, using a fully democratic system that became fully captured by the new members. Those of the original members either left to become freelance hunters or chose to remain, and worryingly quickly adapted to the new members' ideas. This rapid conversion sounded alarm bells for the Order at the time, as well as the group's wide use of necromancy, causing an investigation to begin. A true necromancer can change almost any aspect of an entropic entity, transforming not only their behavior, but also their very form. Cloddwyr Beddau were doing this regularly. The Urdd were issued an ultimatum by the Order to cease all necromantic activity or be refused any future contracts and possibly become targets in their own right. The Urdd's response was simply a letter, an invitation to the High Druid to the Urdd's Hall. The details of what was discussed has never been made public. However, the results was that the Urdd would limit their necromancy to only the most basic of forms. What they retained was how to change the mind of an entropic entity, fundamentally being able to shape their personality, memories, and even beliefs. This last point is most likely why they were allowed to continue in this new limited capacity, as those of master rank are taught how to force their belief system upon entropic entities, what they would call entropic spiritualism. As long as the entity is capable of understanding language, a master of Cloddwyr Beddau can force that entity to fully believe what the master does. This giving them the ability to conduct their own death rites, no matter the original faith of the person the entity was mimicking. There are, of course, rumors that they are also able to do this to other people, explaining why any who join, no matter their faith or lack thereof, all end up as their brand of entropic spiritualist. However, this, as stated, is just a rumor and not confirmed. The truth is that even if they could use this ability on people, they most likely wouldn't need to, as the knowledge they offer makes entropic contracts far easier, making it a very attractive proposition. Also, as a group, they simply tend to be rather nice, being very welcoming and open for the most part, this positive attitude drawing people in. As time has passed and they have proven themselves no ally to the paths of necromancy, the restrictions upon them have become more lax, allowing them to experiment more with the art in service of our sphere. The creation of the divining crystals being one such example. Within the Urdd, an apprentice can only move up to the rank of journeyman after they have created their own divining crystal, a piece of polished quartz containing a heavily modified entropic entity. They describe having a relationship with these entities similar to that of a best friend or family member, and will revert them to a benign spirit when they feel the time is right, creating a new one to replace it. What this item allows them to do is rather fascinating. Simply with a map and a clear picture within their mind, they can locate what they are picturing. There are some caveats. With a mundane item, they simply need to have seen the specific item before. With a person, they need to have a large amount of understanding of the person's personality and personal history. With entities, it is similar to mundane humans, however with each sphere adding their own complications, such as needing the true name with Fae, and needing to know the person the entity is mimicking for the entropic. Artifacts are the most complicated, as one would need both a full understanding of the object, but also the one who imbued it with their power. Their knowledge of necromancy, which is by no means on par with those who follow the necromantic paths, is jealously guarded and not shared with any outside of the Urdd, including the Order, despite our many requests. Their reasoning for this is both argued from an ethical point and a utilitarian one. As a group, their knowledge is only used to aid in the returning of entropic entities back to a benign state. Even when they create things such as the divining crystals and Tim itself, it is in aid of this purpose. If they were to share what they know, they would not be able to police how it was used, and to be fair, we fully understand the horrors this art can inflict in the wrong hands. Even with all of this, Cloddwyr Beddau walk a very thin line with the Order, more so than the other Urdd. However, so far, and to our knowledge, they have not betrayed the trust placed in them. Their ranking system is rather standard and in keeping with the Order's own, however, they have their own unique requirements for progression. Starting as an apprentice, they will learn from their master as is typical, however, they will reach a point where they will be asked to revert an entropic entity alone using the standard means, while the master watches. If successful, they will be taught how to create their own divining crystal, that they will then work on in their own time while still learning from their master. It can take years before they successfully accomplish this, but once they do, they officially become journeymen. The journeymen of Cloddwyr Beddau have been widely nicknamed as the travelling exorcists by hunters not affiliated with the Urdd. This is due to them touring from Order Office to Order Office, taking on contracts related to the entropic sphere, gathering experience. This knowledge will be vital for their transition into masters, as to earn their title they must prove their mastery of both the entropic sphere but also their form of pseudo-necromancy. When ready, they will return to the Urdd Hall, where their master, as well as a number of other masters, will be waiting for them. Here they will face their final test. The aspiring master will be locked within a circular room that, to the uninitiated, will appear empty. In fact, within this room is an entropic entity, specifically one that binds itself to people with possession. The journeymen, using all they have learned, not only need to stop themselves becoming possessed, but must also cow the entity so that it no longer tries. Thankfully, throughout the trial, the masters are on standby to intervene and revert the being if it seems a journeyman is about to fail, leading to a remarkably low accidental mortality rate. If successful, the journeyman attains the rank of master and is permitted to learn how to warp the beliefs of entropic entities, making some future contracts far easier. Unlike some of the other Urds that foster a more sink-or-swim culture, Cloddwyr Beddau instead are focused on making sure each aspirant succeeds, and even in the rare cases of those who fail to progress, roles are created for them within the Urdd. This can be in administration, weapon maintenance, law-keeping, or any other number of positions that aid the Urdd, as once you're in, you're family in their eyes, and will be cared for no matter what. In fact, the only time those of the Urdd appear vindictive is when one of their own intentionally harms or kills another within the Urdd. This is seen as the ultimate betrayal, and while they protest this, it is rumoured that the ultimate punishment they have used is to force an Ecurthed in Varu into the offender. Those hunters who have worked alongside members of this Urdd have described them in a number of different ways: pleasant, kind, self-sacrificing, insufferably earnest, and sometimes mad. Many have theorized that much of this sickly, sweet attitude comes as a response to working directly with death on such a regular basis. A coping mechanism to shield them from the cynicism of the world. However, they would instead argue that it is instead a product of the work they do. The idea that reverting entropic entities to their benign state brings those entities peace, and as such is a positive act that they can feel good about. To be fair, when compared to fighting entities of other spheres, they may have a point. When compared to the bloody battles with abomination entities or the slow grinding poisoning of a fae, the reversion of an entropic being is rather peaceful. This does not mean that their hunts are any less dangerous than any other. They still face beings capable of stealing their very humanity or tearing them limb from limb, but the outcome is far less taxing upon the human conscience. Finally, I will note here that their ability to change the beliefs of entropic entities is not an immediate win in most cases, and is highly situational. If the entity is agitated or actively hostile, it is next to impossible for them to do what they need to in time for it to be effective, and as such, even when they have the knowledge, they still use much of the same techniques that other hunters employ. Instead, it is reserved for the most passive entropic entities that, while still dangerous, are not actively attacking. The hunters of the Cloddwyr Beddau have proven themselves to be indispensable in our fight against the spheres. However, there are a great many aspects of them that worry me. Chiefly among them is their ability to enforce a belief system onto another being. While yes, it has proven effective and has been okayed by the Order, is it morally right to rob anyone, even an entity, of what they believe? To forcibly indoctrinate them into your way of thinking, robbing them of something that is very personal to them, their faith. I myself have no faith, but I understand the importance of it to those who do, and taking away that choice seems ethically unsound. But that will be all for today. Please like, comment and subscribe, with Arthur's might and Merlin's wisdom. Thank you.